All right, so what we got this morning is what I'm a firm believer in, and that's building the mind and the body before going and building the business. What that means is as soon as I wake up in the morning, before I do any kind of work, before I get into the fires I got to put out, I am putting my body, my mind through something grueling, challenging myself, because anything I do after this for building Marketing Examine is not going to be harder than the shit I'm doing in the gym. So what we got today is we got Olympic lifting. We're going to be snatching off these blocks, cleaning off these blocks, then doing heavy squats, then ending it with some conditioning, and then going about our day. But the whole goal of this is to put our mind and body through something very difficult, something challenging, so that when we go through work and we don't want to do something, we have a giant task list, and none of that task list looks appealing and we don't want to do it. We just do it because we've already done something that is much harder, and doing simple tasks sitting behind a computer is nothing compared to what you did in the morning. So that's what we got this morning. We're warming up, then hitting snatches, then we got heavy cleans. On the Olympic side, that's what we're trying to hit. So we're trying to get to 235, 245 for a set of one, working up to kind of 90, the 90-ish percentile. Same thing on cleans, but trying to get to 275 off blocks, then doing sets of 1 and 2 with safety bar squats. Set felt good. Today's one of those days though. Woke up at 2, was up till 5, had to wake up at 6:15 to lift and just go about my day. So like everything's feeling heavy, everything's feeling just a little harder. But again, that's what I'm talking about. Like those are the days where lifting in the morning benefits everything you're doing in the rest of the day. So we just completed Olympic lifting, got heavy squats, some accessory work, and we're out. So that's a wrap on today's workout. We ended it with a bunch of accessory work, dumbbell rows, RDLs, and then 45-degree extensions. Next thing I got one meeting I have to hit before going into the office. Gonna be at the office the whole day. Today's a big day for us. We're prepping a new YouTube show that we're launching. We're prepping the new cinematics, the new style aesthetic for the podcast. We also have a newsletter going out. We're also raising money for the company. So we're planning who we're pitching, how much money we're raising, the narrative that we're trying to tell, all these different things. We're gonna give you a BTS of that. And then I'm also gonna talk about why I'm starting this channel, why I'm creating these videos, why Rudy is behind the camera capturing all of this, so that you guys kind of understand what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to build, the goals I'm trying to achieve, where I'm at currently, and how I'm gonna get there, because there's a lot of fucking work to do. But there's a long day ahead, so let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome to the channel. So what you're gonna see in this channel, I'm calling it FPV, billion dollar build, meaning first person view of me trying to build a billion dollar company. And the company I'm building is Marketing Examine. So I've seen this problem with business content, which is it's boring. Nobody likes to consume it. There's very few big media companies or legacy media companies that put out good business content. It's all stuffed with keywords and fluff, and it's not really made for individuals like you and I, millennials and Gen Z, who grew up consuming very visual content and easy to consume, skimmable content. And so when I look at a company like HBR, which is Harvard Business Review, they're doing $300 million in revenue on the back end of case studies. And those case studies are, again, very boring, hundreds and hundreds of pages, and most people don't read them unless they're forced to read them. And so with what I'm trying to do with the Examined, and right now, like our biggest newsletter, Marketing Examine, is build a media machine on the back end of B2B content within newsletters right now, focusing on playbooks, but turning them into visual case studies. So taking a company, dissecting it, figuring out how it grew from, let's say, 0 to 100 million, or 0 to 10 million, or 0 to a million, or even getting your first 1,000 customers, and breaking that down into a visual case study, something that you like to consume, something that's fun to consume, something that's easy to consume, and it just makes learning fun. On the other end of it, most media companies, most B2B media companies, especially at that, are very boring. Like they have no style, they have no, like, lack of a better term, they have no swag, no kind of aesthetic or integration with like hip hop and kind of the culture. And I grew up in that era playing football my entire life, and so I grew up kind of in sports, and sports is such a thing that moves culture and moves the world. And so is hip hop, and like that, just like that kind of style and aesthetic of like streetwear and all those things. And so on my end, I'm really trying to intersect the two things. Like, how can I take business content and all the individuals that want to be entrepreneurs and want to build companies and want to build incredible things, but give it style, give it meaning, make it in many ways like a lifestyle to learn. Like, learning is supposed to be good. Learning is a great thing. But nobody takes pride in the content that they consume unless it's really coming from creators. So with what I'm building with the Examined, it is taking B2B content, it is taking what stands for business to business content, educational content with newsletters and podcasts and YouTube shows, and then taking what we're building with newsletters, podcasts, YouTube shows, and making it dope, making it fun to consume, making it engaging, and giving it a little bit of style so that it's not just something that you consume on a Friday. Like, our merch is going to be dope. Everything we do is going to be dope. Every part of our aesthetic is going to be dope, and things that people want to rep and care about and are and make them feel a kind of way. Like, especially with it being centered around marketing. Like, marketing controls the world, and it controls what you see. That's what you're going to see me build with Marketing Exam, and that's where you're going to get a first-person view of me doing. On the back end, like, a lot of what you're going to see is a very monotonous and just routine thing of me working out, me being a dad, me going to the office, me building. Like, that is the essence of what I do. So it's just going to be a lot of that, and a lot of cool people that are going to come to our office and chop it up with us and kind of help us along as we build. Like, on Fridays, today's Friday, we always like to have people come through the door, and like, we chop it up and we kind of just talk business and marketing. In many ways, like, you could look from the outside in, you would look at us and say, hey, we're building a media company. In many ways, we're not. We're building the strongest media arm in the B2B space, but we're not building a media company. We're just building, again, a media arm, but we plan on monetizing in many different ways. We're launching 2 different products this year. Some of them have kind of already launched in stealth. One of them's launching next month. And that is going to essentially get away from us monetizing like a media company. I think one strong opinion I have is media companies are very good at building audiences and getting people to consume their content. They're terrible at monetizing that. They're terrible at looking at their audience and saying, hey, there's hundreds of little pockets of communities within this audience that we can build a product for. And essentially in many ways, that's what I'm going to be doing, but I'll talk about that in the next episode. But right now we're headed to the office, and it's a Friday, and we got to build. We got a busy day.
For that one, that day we ran like 5 miles, bro.
You did.
I did.
Now I know why you came in first. You came like first or second.
Dude.
And you're probably just hungry. You're like, I need to compete. I need to win something. Like, when you guys were competing for the games, were you guys doing two-a-days?
Yeah, not every day, but like there was enough training to win over 2 days. But we did a lot like in one block. I don't know. I think that's the nice thing about team is like you don't necessarily have to do 2-a-days every day.
Why?
I mean, you could if you're trying to like really win, but like you can be competitive and do like one long session in the middle of the day. I think it's like it's gonna slowly weed its way out, but like it was the only area where you could have like a 9-to-5 job and still compete. Now it's gonna be like with super teams and everything, it's gonna be everybody's a full-time professional athlete on their own.
So that's been awesome. And like right before Zara was born, I went full-time, left Collective to do this because it was a successful side hustle, but I had never gone full-time on it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, it's time to build like an all-out media company, or really build a media arm and then start building like other products for that, the audience. So we have Marketing Examine, which is our strongest newsletter with the 100,000 plus subs. And then we have like DTC Examined, Content Exam, and those all have like 20-30,000 subs. Launched the podcast, adding that to the media arm. Launching like a paid community for content marketers, head of content, like those roles. So we did a bunch of just like interviews with readers, and everybody's like, and these are people like from 8 Sleep, people from like big brands.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know how to develop like organic content strategies.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, if we could build a community to get like the top people in content to communicate with these folks and help them, that'd be super valuable. The other part that we're adding on is like YouTube shows, like the long form that you were talking about. We have a few shows that we're like working on. We're doing one called like Brand Builders. It started off as like Queer Eye for Startups.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because we did it with Haven Athletic.
Yeah.
You know them?
Yeah.
And so we went to LA, filmed it. It was awesome, but it's just like it's taken so long because we're like implementing everything for the brand.
Right.
Like if they need better email SMS, we're getting them with like PostScript or landing page builder to do it. What I think we're going to transition to now is more so like we'll go to an 8-figure brand and like how did you get from zero, like how'd you go from 0 to 8 figures?
Yeah.
And kind of like more in depth, like MTV Cribs, but for startups. Like building a company, like you're saying fitness is changing, so is building a company. It's like becoming a lifestyle. So if we can modernize it like Complex and make it dope and something that people actually enjoy doing, then it's a different game.
Like I think something that you're really good at least on the snippets, is like taking like this very complex jumble of words and giving me something that I can say inside of a meeting, right? Like give me a sentence that like hits everything, and now like I seem like a genius, but really I'm just taking like this very quotable thing that you deciphered out for me and presenting it like it's new knowledge.
That's what like. That's a wrap on the episode. So we just finished episode 26. The next thing we got is we're going over to the Ladder HQ. We're essentially planning this idea and this YouTube show. We're doing like MTV Cribs with startups, 8-figure brands. We're going over there to kind of scout the location, figure out the cinematics, the aesthetics that we're trying to do, and then also figure out how we're leveraging that for the podcast and we're funneling people down. So we're about to do that. All right, we just wrapped up the podcast. We're now headed to Ladders HQ because we're going to talk about this YouTube show, which is why I got Charles, King Charles, C Money. The whole goal of today's kind of meeting with the Ladder HQ team is, again, to plan the cinematics, the aesthetics, where we're going to shoot, the shoot location, the certain scenes that we're trying to get out of the shoot, and then also figure out like when we could do the podcast, when we could actually plan this and shoot it and all these things. So we're trying to build a team around our organic content, specifically YouTube. Like we're seeing a lot of growth on the organic side with Instagram and even Twitter, but mostly short form video, organic on IG. But the thing that we really want to build out, because we think it builds out affinity, specifically if like we're trying to turn subscribers into fans or followers into fans, is building out YouTube and building out that engine so that we could funnel people to that. So that is what our focus is today and what we're about to get into. And their ladder or their HQ is literally 2 minutes from our office, which is nice.
I mean, you really like build it out, right?
Yeah, so we came in and it was empty. It was like that side. Both sides were empty, but it was just like siding on the walls.
Yeah,
we brought all this stuff over from our old office.
Yeah. So
And
good,
then
dude. So good.
this to be
I know. Kelly's been like, it's like, we're gonna get in here one of these times.
yeah, it's just it feels like this is the next step for brands. Is like you gotta have your studio. Can't have the road logo though.
We were just talking with Chase before. Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask you, like get your thoughts on what we want to do, because I'm starting to think about like YouTube and understanding, or kind of trying to build a prequel to a podcast episode. So what I think about that is like if we did a podcast episode with you and Greg, could we almost do like the MTV Cribs for this, like for the HQ beforehand, or like a little interview bit there, a little interview bit here, maybe up top. And that's like the prequel to the episode. We wrap up that's more YouTube based. We wrap that up like, okay, you ready to really go dive in? And then it goes to the podcast.
Cool.
So it's almost like a funnel down. But like this piece is 10, 12 minutes and it's more like It's cinematic.
Yeah.
It's a nice piece versus.
Well, and it just like it stretches the content. Like it's one thing to cut down long form into multiple cuts, but it's nice to have like different assets to use just to kind of stretch each.
It's like more YouTube friendly as well.
Yeah.
Podcasts are it's a podcast.
It's a podcast.
Sometimes tough to like grow that on YouTube, right? It is
very tough to grow the pod.
Yeah.
So this is way more YouTube friendly, more interactive. Like
We could get these to get 200,000 views, and they listen to the first 10 minutes, and they're like, "Damn, that 10 minutes was so valuable." And they're about to do a podcast for an hour. Yeah. So we're wrapping up the day. We're at Auditorium Shores in Austin, about to hit 3 miles. This is part of my aerobic work and trying to build this aerobic base. We're trying to train for the CrossFit Games. That is my weakness. The thing that I'm a strong athlete. I can put up heavy weights. I can do it multiple times. When you talk about having an aerobic base, I don't have it. So I got to put a lot of time and programming into trying to build up that base so that I don't get gassed after doing an extensive amount of hang cleans or power cleans or whatever the case may be. So the whole goal here is we're getting 3 miles in. We're going to be doing it in zone 2, roughly 50-60% of our max heart rate. So the whole goal is to build up our aerobic base, build up this base so that I can do a lot of this programming and recovering from it. Right now I'm following HWPO Pro. I'm doing roughly 5.5 hours of training every single day, morning and in the evening. I got to be able to recover from that. Building up this aerobic base helps me recover from that. So that's what we got. Wrap on the day. 3 miles. Let's go. That's a wrap on the first video. I hope you enjoyed this. The whole goal is to kind of show you the behind the scenes and the journey of trying to build a $1 billion media company or $1 billion company in general, while also training for the CrossFit Games, while also trying to be a dad and trying to do all these things simultaneously when there really is no rule book for doing this. There's no example for doing this, and it's something that I'm trying to pave the way of. Look, you could be a top tier athlete and build other things, and people say like focus on one thing, and I believe that you should focus. If you're trying to build a company, focus on one company at a time. If you're trying to play one sport, or if you're trying to compete in some sport, focus on that one sport. Don't try to train for a marathon and a powerlifting competition at the same time. Now, when you talk about, look, you're awake for 16 hours of the day, you could train for 2 things, right? Like you could train to be an athlete, and you could also then build a company, and that's the whole goal of this channel. That's the whole goal of sharing my journey and sharing the behind the scenes, so you can see that happen and do it for yourself, and know that it's very important to take care of your health, and it's also very important to build a company that helps employ other people. So that's a wrap.